read one section of the book. And for those of you who don't know, that there is a specific poignant reason for this particular passage of the book. It's actually, you can see from the cover design, it's actually built around a real photograph of the King David Hotel in the aftermath of the bombing in 1946. Now that bombing has a specific memory for Margaret in that her father was in there at that time. Not in the section that's demolished, and he did survive it, but the particular point here that she's going to read, one of these characters is essentially based on her father's experience of that moment, of that horrific moment when the bomb goes off. So if you...
Right, yes, I found it.
There you go.
I've got a letter.
Yeah, but it's not really the, I'm afraid.
This is one of the things about Writers' Club. We don't have a lectern in the room, we get a bit angry. Now, I forgot to bring up Hezekiah's balls, but if you go downstairs, you can find Hezekiah's balls. There are two stones which are mentioned here. They actually belong to my father. Tim, this is in King David, and Tim Crane is Patsy's husband, and he's gone to visit Jim Shepherd, who is another main character in the book, based on my father actually. Tim found Jim Shepherd in shirt sleeves, with his jacket flung over the back of his chair. Being a civilian had many advantages, Tim felt. He wished he could remove his jacket. Office windows were wide open and bolted back, with drawn curtains keeping out excessive light. Papers, seized from the Jewish agency, were spread across Jim's desk, weighted down with stone balls, looking suspiciously like ancient Jewish catapult stones. He hoped it was not part of his duty as a police officer to investigate their provenance. Colonel White brought me on this caper, Jim informed him. We worked together in 42. These papers prove the Jewish agency helped organise the United Resistance. The Colonel doesn't want the military in their present mood to have access to them, and has authorised me to pass them on to you. It's imperative, he says, that you squeeze further information from your informers. He gave a resigned sigh as a knock on the door interrupted the conversation. He picked up a large raffia map and covered his desk. Come in! A private, wearing the cap badge of the Royal Engineers, entered and looked warily at him in his flat officer-type cap and his khaki uniform bearing 3 shoulder stars, obviously wondering whether he was supposed to salute a ranking police officer. Close the door behind you, Sonny, Jim snapped, underlining his territorial claim. The private complied before blurting out his message. Mr. Shepherd, sir, the Brigadier has asked me to report a message, probably a hoax, that bombs with extras tricky anti-tampering devices are hidden in the hotel. Tim smiled to himself. There was no probably about the hoax. Only the previous day, Arden Platter had assured him Haganah had ordered the other 2 underground organisations to refrain from violence during the current talks in London. He did not, however, interrupt the private. The Brigadier asks, sir, if you would join him in the main section of the building to be on hand to help disarm the bombs, if they exist. The message said they were due to explode in about 15. There was a deafening roar. The whole room shook. The roar turned into the loudest boom he had ever experienced. A metal filing cupboard gave a little dance and the floor trembled. While flying backwards, he saw Jim's chair hurtle across the room. The wall hit him. He slid down, until he lay flat on his back, feeling vibrations from falling stone. His neck gave a sharp protest as he lifted his head. He watched an olive wood hat drag, with an ornamental spike, skid across the floor, spearing the fallen private's chest, creating a fountain of blood. He wondered hazily why he was seeing so curious an image, closed his eyes and reality pierced the mental fog. Patsy was in the lounge next door. He had to get to her. He opened his eyes and struggled to sit, but failed. Shafts of pain shot up his spine. His neck throbbed in irregular time to external thumps and thuds. The wall opposite cracked open, split apart. A dark cloud of dust and smoke poured in, obscuring everything. But not before he had a surreal vision of a man sitting at his desk with a concrete slab where his head should have been. Lumps of plaster and shards of stone rained down on him. He protected his face with his hand, relieved that his arms at least still worked the way they were supposed to. But hands weren't adequate to keep chalky dust and throat smearing smoke from invading his nostrils whenever he drew breath. Again the room shook. The smoke cleared, but not just long enough to show the teetering filing cabinet next to him, losing its balance for equilibrium. He pressed his hands to the floor and bent his leg in an attempt to lever himself up. The cabinet slammed onto his knee, flattening it with surprising little noise. Agonizing pain traced up his leg, up to his thigh. More falling plaster, more pelting stone. Against the filing cabinet to no effect. The pain was unbearable now. He mustn't shriek, he was an officer. Take deep breaths. A mistake. His throat closed against the torturing smoke. Air so thick he couldn't see his hands. His head fell back, hit the tiled floor. More pain. Smoke was thinner at floor level. He could breathe a little now. Private, he cried. Can you hear me? But his words sounded muffled, even to his own ears. Faintly he heard Mr. Shepherd. Crane, are you all right? He felt ashamed. Although just a civilian, the man sounded free of panic. He must put himself together, behaved like a soldier. Nothing more serious than a broken leg and a headache. His voice sounded too quiet for the effort his mouth was making. Can't move because a filing cabinet is pinning down my leg. How about you? Standing by the window so I can breathe. I'm bleeding badly, so I'm tearing my shirt to make a tourniquet. There was silence for a moment, then Tim heard Mr. Shepherd's voice again, a little more distinctly than before. Crane, I'm coming over. I have to keep my head down to breathe. I can't tie the tourniquet on my own. He had a slithering noise and felt something touch his stomach. His fingers traced two ends of cloth. All plaster cascaded, but nothing serious. Tim spoke again. I'm putting the ends of the tourniquet in your hands. Can you feel it? Yes. Tie the ends tight. And then I'll hunt for a way out and get some chaps to come for you. Tim tied the tourniquet as tightly as he could, just moving his arms caused spasms of agony in his leg. The slightest lifting of his head was torture. The floor creaked loudly. The sieve tilted further, but the filing cabinet failed to budge. I think that's done, sir. I'll check on the soldier now. He may be only unconscious. I doubt it, sir. Can you move a body by yourself? Hope so. Ask someone to check on Patsy. Will do. Tim heard Jim Shepherd slither away, puffs, pants, and the sound of something heavy being dragged. I've got the door open, Jim called. Keep low to the ground. Windows open. The room should clear, so hang on. Would Jim make it out? Would anyone come to rescue him? The air was clearing. That was something. Tim pushed a hand beneath the filing cabinet, resting on his leg. His fingers wandered into a warm, sticky puddle. He traced the source of the flow to a sharp bone protruding through the skin. A wave of dizziness hit him. It was important to stay awake. Little Johnny mustn't grow up an orphan. Another wave of bitterness and nothing.